All right, man. Today we're going to dive into courage. And, you might hear that a lot as far as people might be, if they're going down this personal development journey, right? They might be stumbling into the idea of courage. They might have heard it from different places. But today I want to share as many personal stories as we possibly can, right? Things that we've had to deal with, some challenges that we're even dealing with, even still to this day, that hopefully maybe will bring home the idea of having courage, being courageous in some challenging times. I think that the way the world is these days, that it's going to take a lot of courage to achieve whatever it is, whatever level of success that you're looking for. If you're listening to us here today in 2025, you're looking for different ways to build a business. Maybe you're looking for different ideas of building a podcast. Greg has expertise in writing and launching books. Um, yeah, so we can help you with those kinds of things, but you have to have the courage to step into it, right? So that's the discussion I want to have here today. Any thoughts on that topic here before we really dive in?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun topic. It's very timely for me as well because there's a few things that I'm, kind of going back and forth with, and like you're talking about, having the courage just to, bite the bullet and move forward, and we're going to talk about all that today. So this might be an episode directly for what's going on in my head, which will probably be very, very helpful. So I appreciate it.
Well, let's do it. Let's quit having me kind of hog the microphone here. Let's share whatever you're willing to share with us, right? We had a little bit of a discussion before we hopped on, but I'm sure there might be a little bit more details. Share with what you're comfortable with, but yeah, let's go down that. If share with us kind of what's going on in your own mind as far as trying to be courageous and putting yourself out there, that kind of thing. What's going on with you?
Yeah, so I mean, personally in my life, I mean, literally this morning I posted on social media about the second book that I'm publishing. And candidly, I've had this book mostly completed. It's like 95% completed, so I can send it out for, critique and everything. I've had it done probably for 3 months, and I've just been
Really?
sitting on
See, I
it.
didn't know that.
Yeah. And I mean, the holidays played a factor in it a little bit, but it was always on my list of, just send it out, put it on social media, ask for help reviewing the book and that kind of thing. And it was just one of those things where I just got tired of looking at it on my list, and I was like, you know what? This is going to benefit me. It was a little scary because, when you write a book or when you even record a podcast, it's out there for everybody to listen to or read, maybe judge, that kind of thing. And that is out of your control once you release any kind of content. So yeah, so that was a little scary for me, but at the same time, it's not the first time I've released a book. So I kind of have a little bit momentum there of what to expect. And then I just kind of tempered my expectations too of, you know what, I'm not, a best-selling author. I haven't written, all these crazy books and everything, but, I carved out my little niche, and the first book is doing really well. And that's all I can do. I can only control what I put out there. And if people gravitate towards it, if it goes viral, whatever happens, great. If it doesn't, great. I'm still an author. I still have my name out there. And more importantly, it was more fun for me to actually put the words on paper, put the ideas down, and hopefully help people who are on the other side of that book, right?
Yes. So that's, for me, in my experience, anytime I've had to be courageous, you have to think about the other person, like who you're trying to help, was a big help for me to take that step. So quickly, because I want to go back I want to dig a little deeper into that with you, but I just want to kind of put a little bit of a twist on that for myself. Ethan, I refer back to the podcast a lot. So my less personal developed per self, right? As I was beginning to get comfortable with myself. The last episode, we talked about self-compassion and self-love. A couple episodes we talked about core wounds. So all this work I've done on myself has allowed me then to have the courage to step into and produce some content, create the Rich Mind brand, obviously on video. I mean, you're sharing things all over the place. And that took some courage because my previous self with the self-doubt it was bad. I mean, there's no way I would have been able to, number one, do it at all. But then obviously to keep going over nearly 2 years here, uh, it's been a challenge, but it's been good. It's been a good exercise for me to, number one, see that it is possible, see a result. Like I said, I didn't have many expectations on it either. I think that helped as well. I didn't put negative thoughts in my mind that if I didn't achieve X result, then it was a failure. I've never done that. And I think that's helped as well. And just a matter of showing up and doing the work, putting in the reps. I kind of look at it just like reps. I was a baseball or basketball player back in high school, and it's like the free throws, right? You just stand at that free throw line and you just take reps. You just shoot. You can shoot hundreds, thousands, to get it down perfected. So that way when the lights are on, like they are right now for us, you can perform. You're getting the reps in. So it's like that way with you with your book. So I want to go back to that. And tell me about some of this negative self-talk that you might have been going on, or even like you said, you posted about this second book even today. Tell me more about that. Is there any more you can share with us as far as how you're able to, maybe with your first book, move through that to where now you've gotten the result, meaning you've done it once, you've gotten the result, and it wasn't negative, meaning it's doing well, but then even putting yourself out there, you didn't get negative responses from anybody else out there either, right? It's not like people were saying, well, Greg, why did you do this? Why or how? You know what I mean? Which has allowed you to have the courage then to step into this second release. So yeah, maybe kind of paint that picture a little bit more detailed if you can.
Yeah. So, I mean, with the books and publishing, I've co-written a few books in the beginning, but that was basically writing one chapter in a compilation. So it's very different. That one, you literally just wrote your chapter and you didn't really deal with marketing, editing, all that kind of stuff. When you write your own book, at least I did everything independently. So I had to figure out all those steps. And I basically just, I had a course that I took and it broke everything down, which was fantastic. And yeah, the first book, it's out there and it's doing pretty well. So I think that made this second one a little bit easier. But at the same time, I was still struggling with my own thoughts of, well, now that the first book is doing pretty well, what if this second one doesn't do as well? And that's where my anxious mind really kind of took over. And what if it doesn't do as well? Were people going to say he was, he got lucky on the first one and the second one just sucks? It's not as good. I don't know. But that's where the courage kind of comes into play here, and kind of goes down the route of like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Right. I have one book that's doing well, one that doesn't do well. All right, that's fine. I wouldn't be the first person that ever did that before, right? There's movie stars out there that have great movies and others that are just horrible flops. And what do? They just keep on applying and they keep on trying out. Yep. Yeah, they just keep on going. And I realized like I'm the only one that is really judging me as hard as I think others are judging me, because in reality, and we can all relate to this, I mean, most people don't think about you as much as you think about yourself, right? Because that's just the way we are. We're self-admittedly self-absorbed in like a good way, but I don't think about other people's successes and failures as much as I do my own. And especially when somebody really close to me does have a failure or it's not going as well, I'm there, talking about self-compassion. I'm there to, give them empathy and support, not judging them of, hey, you did one book well, this second book is not going to go well. Oh my God, I can't talk to you anymore. It's the complete opposite. So just realizing that even if it does go down that route, I have plenty of people in my circles that are going to support me and not judge me, at least to my face, about my success. And it's all for me, right? It's my success and my connection with the reader, not, am I, quote unquote successful for 2 books. It's really up to me to kind of define that success, which we've talked about on this podcast also.
Yeah, so many times, right? So it's that internal dialogue. It's that getting comfortable with yourself. We talked about self-talk, self-compassion, a lot of self. You got to do a lot of that inner work, right? Work on the, when you win within. I say that on the podcast as well. And that's what I mean by that. You've got to win within, meaning the doubts, the worries, the fears, all of those things, that self-chatter, those core wounds, all of that, it all comes into place in terms of trying to achieve anything out there in life. One thing that came to mind as you were describing that, and I appreciate what you shared there, Greg, was that the gentleman named Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you're familiar with Gary or not. So folks, if you're not, you need to go follow Gary. Gary's a great person to business advice, right? But he also talks about the kind of things we talk about here on the podcast as well. And one thing I've heard him say multiple times, and I'm going to paraphrase here, this isn't going to be an exact quote by any means, but he talks about how the one of the most freeing things you can do as a human being is free yourself from worrying about what everybody thinks about you. Just stop. Just quit thinking. Just don't even put any emphasis on it at all, because they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves, which is exactly what you just said. So very seldom has anybody have the mental capacity to be worrying about what you're doing or how you're doing it, because they're so caught up with their own monkey mind and their own chatter, their own self-doubts and their own all the stuff that we've discussed here in the last 2 or 3 episodes. We're all dealing with that at any given time. So it's very difficult for somebody then to worry more about what you're doing and how you're doing it. So that should give you some freedom then to continue to step into this person or this goal or this activity that you're trying to do for yourself with, yeah, you might have some people share some negativity with you. Like, I get negative comments every now and then on the podcast, especially YouTube. YouTube is really strange. It's probably the one place that I get a lot of negative feedback, right? And it's like, so what? If you don't want to listen, fine, flip it over to the next one. I'm showing up for the listener and the follower. So if you're catching us to this point, thanks for being here. We're trying to add as much value into your life as you possibly can, but we're not going to resonate with everybody. That's one thing that I had to come to grips with as well. My stories, my experiences, my goals are not going to resonate with everybody. But for those that do, welcome. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk. It's going to be a lot of fun. So just giving yourself that grace, that ability to quit worrying about what other people think about you, what you're doing, how you're doing it. Now, getting some constructive feedback, like if you're needing some help with something from someone that is experienced or that you trust their opinions, that's different. That's totally different. And that's, maybe we can talk about that maybe a little bit too. But I just want to make sure that I understand that, don't take advice or don't take criticism from somebody that doesn't have your best interest in mind, because they don't. They're dealing with the same negative things going on in their mind, probably even more so than you are. And that's because you're working on yourself being with us here on the Rich Mind Podcast, and we appreciate it. So any more thoughts on that, Greg?
Yeah, the one quote that kind of came to mind, and I might butcher it too, but it was, don't take criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from.
Yeah, I like
right?
that.
Like,
yeah.
If I ask you for advice, Randy, I trust your judgment and everything. But if I didn't, then why would I let you knock me down with criticism if I can't ask you a question about business or life and really rely on the answer? So kind of keep that in mind too when you're taking, or just when you're talking to people and taking in information. Is this person somebody who I would really trust with a big decision in my life or a small decision or whatever? And if it's not, and they're knocking you down and giving you criticism, then just delete it or move swipe
on.
it or do whatever you got to do in your own mind just to move forward,
So that's where that control of that inner chatter, that inner self-talk, that's where that comes into so much, right? I've met several people in my journey of trying to become more for myself, for my family, that you quickly can start seeing through folks that are there to take from you, meaning, does that make sense? They're not necessarily there to just give in full transparency and that type of thing, which is what I'm trying to do here on the podcast, folks. I'm trying to be transparent with me, with my stories, with everything, right? I want you to, if you've listened to any amount of my episodes, you should have a good feeling of who I am as a human being. And that's kind of the whole idea. But the courage to do that was years and years and years of working on myself, working on that self-doubt, all those types of things. But what the point I was trying to make there is that you will run across folks that you'll be able to, when you start to work on your own internal chatter, you'll start to see folks in different ways. Like you can tell if someone's trying to pull one over on you, that type of thing. And it's almost like transparency is not the right word. Authenticity, maybe that's the right word. I was trying to think of the right word to describe that. But, somebody coming across authentic, wanting to help, versus someone that is either trying to critique you or get you to do a certain thing in a certain way because it will fall in line with their objective. Hopefully I'm wording that well. Maybe you can help me with that, Greg, if I am or am not. But the idea is I just want you to understand that it's the courage in yourself to continue to step forward, to step into who you are meant to become, and realizing that what other people's opinions, as long as if it's the right people's opinions, that's different. Now, if my wife has an opinion on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, I'm going to listen. If good friends of mine, like Greg, has an opinion on what we're doing, why we're doing it, I'm going to listen. Now, if it's somebody on the internet that doesn't know me from just listening to me a few times, has an opinion on what I say, how I say, what I look like, what I sound like, you've got to discard that. Like you said, just move it away. Just get rid of it. That's been my experience. And that's what I definitely want to encourage everybody else to do that today as well.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that too, I would even say, even with like your wife for an example, but I'll use my mom as an example because, she knows I'm into real estate and real estate investing, but she's not an investor and she'll admit it. She doesn't have a lot of knowledge around that. So it also depends on the topic because I love my mom. I'll listen to her on a lot of different topics, life and just many different topics. But real estate investing is not one of them. She doesn't have an expertise in it. I can say that very confidently. She'll tell you the same thing. And I remember one time she mentioned, she lives in New Jersey. She mentioned, oh, there's this house for sale. It's around the corner. You should look at it. It'll be a great investment. And I knew right away, I was just like, this,
That's not going to work, is it?
Yeah, it's not going to work. I appeased her. I said, oh yeah, no problem, whatever. But I know in my mind, for the parameters that I have for investing, the way she described it right away, I'm like, this is not going to be a good fit. So it also is, take with a grain of salt their expertise in the area, not just who the person is, because, like I said, I love my mom, but yeah, that's one area of life that I know a lot more than she does. And I know she was trying to be helpful and sweet and supportive, but it just didn't line up. And that's one time where I really had to say, in my mind anyway, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. That's not going to work out. And we continued our conversation elsewhere. But anyway, my point is, whether it is a really trusted person in your life that you love or like, definitely understand kind of their resume and their expertise as well, because it needs to be balanced out a little bit more.
I agree. I'm nodding the whole entire time with a big smile on my face. I was that way with my dad. My dad was that to me, right? He was always telling me what to do, when to do it, how to do it, why to do it. And for the longest time in my life, I just did it. I mean, and it's like, but I wasn't getting the results that I wanted. I finally had to say, why am I doing this? I need to stop this, because it's not that the man it's like he wasn't doing it to hurt me, but it wasn't aligned with who I was trying to become. He didn't have the experiences or wasn't wanting to experience the things that I wanted, which was keeping me from doing the things that I wanted to do in life. He's not with us here today, but if you see what I'm doing now, he'd be like, what are you doing? Why are you, he would 100% be the critique trying to tell me that, why I'm doing it, what I should be doing instead, how I should be doing it better. I can have those conversations in my mind still to this day because of all that. So I'm agreeing with you 100%. Yeah, I made the comment about my wife, but it's a person that I trust, right? It's somebody that I trust her opinion based on experience. Same thing with you, Greg. We've had enough experience with each other, right? So there's certain topics that I'm going to take your encouragement on, and then there's others that maybe I won't.
Sure.
Just because based on who you are, what I know about you. Same thing with me, right? I might try to tell you to do X, Y, Z, and it's like, yeah, I don't quite think that that's accurate, right? But it's a matter of going through these experiences, having the courage, working on your self-doubt, working on your self-talk. That's kind of where the conversation leads today. Being able to have that control of your own mind, and that way you're just not randomly just taking direction from other people that may or might not have your best interest at heart.
Yeah, no, well said. And then I think the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about courage is, obviously we've been to some goals retreats together and everything where you set your goals, and most of the time, you have the same goal every year of whatever it is, the resolution or the goal. Sometimes, you achieve your goals. Obviously, that's the whole point. But I kind of realized, like, coming from a logical side of my mind, if I keep having the same fear, then I won't go anywhere in life. I'm always going to have that same goal every January 1st. And it gets annoying, right? Like you get
I
sick
never really
and
thought
tired.
about that, but you're right. Yeah, if you don't ever obviously achieve that goal that you're striving for because of a fear, because of the things we're talking about today, yeah, you're just going to have to keep having the same goal over and over and over.
Yeah. And I know we've all had that, that happened to us. You have the same goal over and over and over, whether it's whatever, earn a certain amount of money, lose weight, eat healthier. And for whatever reason, we don't achieve that goal. And a lot of it is from fear. So logically, that's kind of where I'm at, and, especially in my mid 40s here, where it's like, if I want my life to change, I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again, because that's just the definition of insanity, right? And logically, yeah, if fear is holding me back, and it's held me back for the last 2-3 years on the same goal, and I know this, then if I don't achieve that goal, it's 100% on me, because I'm going to be in the same spot that I was 2-3 years ago, getting frustrated, setting the same stupid goal every January 1st, and just not moving forward, because goals are meant to be achieved. And then you set another goal and you achieve it as well. So that's the momentum and moving forward. But it's easy to get stuck in the non-momentum, mentality there. And yeah, so anyway, that's kind of where I'm coming from, the logical side of, if I keep having the same fear, my life is going to stay exactly the same. And I want to improve my life continually, gradually, big, small, whatever those steps are.
Love it. Yeah. So let's maybe bring that back to the part of the conversation we had at the very beginning, with you beginning the process of launching this second book. So if that fear has you trapped, thinking that you can't or shouldn't, all of those negative things that are going on in your mind, what are some of the things that you've done for yourself today? Like, what are you doing today? Like you mentioned, you put a post out there literally today, right before we chopped on to record today. What got you, or what gave you the courage, other than maybe your past experiences? Because I think we've kind of talked about that. But is there anything you said to yourself? Is there anything that you physically did? I mean, is there anything that you did that maybe we can leave the listeners with that helped you step into realizing that this one action is going to lead to a series of actions, right? That's going to lead to this bigger goal that you're talking about, that you referenced here just a second ago.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I knew I was going to launch, the book in Q1, maybe Q2 of 2025. But honestly, like I said, I just really got tired of looking at it on my to-do list, because I know once I did it, then there's no stopping it, right? Once it's on social media and I'm getting people to, read my book for free and give me some critiques about it, that kind of thing, there's no like, oh, well, I'm not going to launch my book anymore. Sorry. Like, there's no way I'm backing out of it now, because the ball is rolling down the hill. So for me, it was just, I know I have to do it. I got tired of looking at it on my to-do list. I know it's going to benefit me, because like we talk about, we want to create content on this podcast, and books, everything is just part of that content. So I know it's going to benefit the podcast, me personally. It's going to just give me that self-satisfaction as well of, hey, I'm not procrastinating anymore on this thing. I'm getting it done. And I really have the steps lined up of, in the next 30 days, when people get back to me, what do I do next? And then my soft launch date is like mid-March. So again, there's a deadline at the end of, the mid-March, where it's going to happen, whether I want to, whether I want it or not, which I do. So I think having those deadlines and those timelines really helped. And then really, I just got sick and tired of looking at it on my list that I know is going to benefit me. And I just got to take action and have that courage. And now that it's over, I'm fine. I'm relieved. I know.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Once you step into it, it's like you realize that, nothing happened. Everything's fine.
The world didn't break or anything.
Yeah.
My world is the same. It's
right.
It's going to be fine. And it actually gives me more momentum to, tackle some other things that I might have been procrastinating on, or other goals that, like we talked about, have been a 1-year goal, but it turns into a 2-year goal every January. That's not the way I want to live.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, you're just building that courage muscle. And that's kind of what I'm hearing you say. You've done it before. And once you do it once you step beyond that doubt, that uncertainty, and you realize, like you said, that nothing's going to happen. The world's not going to fall apart. Nothing. You might get some feedback that you're not appreciative of, or you might not get any feedback. I mean, sometimes that's just as bad sometimes too, and no one says anything. But the point is that nothing's going to change in your day-to-day activities. And that's what I'm hearing you say. And that's been my experience as well. So when I first started to produce content for the podcast, and I was starting I would have anxiety about hitting send or hitting whatever that button is to make it go out there into the internet world, right? On the social media, whatever. I would have anxiety about that, because I was worried about a result that, number one, it was going to make me better, right? It's made me a lot better doing what I do. But in the moment, it felt so bad. It felt so heavy. It felt so negative. Like I was painting a negative picture of something in the future that isn't true. It wasn't true. Like you said, I've had that experience as well, to the point now I don't think much about it anymore when I post something or when I create something. So it's just building that courage muscle. And that's what I want to encourage the folks here today, is through some encouragement, is to realize that, you're just going to go through the reps, but you've got to have the courage to take those first steps. It can be challenging, but if you go through the personal development work like we talk about here on the podcast, you're definitely going to be able to do it. And it's exciting. I can't wait to hear some of the successes that you have out there and the goals and things that you're trying to achieve for yourself. So, Greg, yeah, I think this has been another fun conversation. Anything else before we start to wrap this one up here, getting into the next episode as well? It's going to be a fun topic. I'm excited about that too.
Yeah, I think the last point that I would just try to bring home is, you mentioned having the thoughts about the future and what's going to happen once you, launch the podcast, or for me, the book. And for me, I really, I have an anxious mind, but I'm working towards calming that down with personal development. And then, so with courage, I realized like the courage is in the moment, like when you're present and you hit that button, and then everything that happens after that it's fine. Like it's just going to happen the way it is, right? Like it could be a huge success. It could be a failure. It could be in the middle, but you can't control that. And that's what my anxious mind in the past would have said. What if it goes down? What if it goes this way? What if this happens? You never know what's going to happen until you, in the moment, get over that fear and really just have that courageous moment of hitting send or posting it on social media or whatever it is. And then just let whatever happens. I know it's easier said than done, especially if you have an anxious mind, but logically that's the way I kind of walked through it. And like you said, I did it this morning, and right now I feel great because I don't have to do it anymore. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah,
and
it's off your plate, right?
Yeah. Whatever results happen, that was meant to be, and just keep moving forward. And I'm going to do this again in 6 months or a year with maybe another book or another project. So it's just like you said, building that muscle. And yeah, so that's what I want to leave the listeners with, is just that logical kind of aspect to it.
Well said. Not going to add any more to it. Fantastic. So folks, share this one with your family and friends. If you're trying to experience and try to get more courage into your life, we've tried to share some stories and some examples of things that we're doing in our own personal lives that hopefully they've resonated with you here today. Just realize that, and Greg said it right there at the very end, that was a great little snippet that, yeah, it's in the moment. It's in those really small time frames of just really having the courage to step forward into this activity, whatever it is that you're trying to do. We've used social media. We're talking about publishing books or creating books, as examples today, but it can be anything. But just start flexing that courageous muscle, start building that muscle, getting the reps in with whatever you're trying to accomplish. And if you do it often enough, pretty soon that you're not going to need as much courage. You're just going to need it in different areas. But the point is that you're just going to get better and better all the time. And that's what we want to encourage you here today on the podcast. So next episode, it's going to be a lot of fun. I had a friend, actually it was a friend from high school. And those of you that may or may not know, I'm into collector cars. I love classic cars, muscle cars. Greg knows this firsthand. I drug him to a car show a year ago. He said he enjoyed it, and, he can probably tell me, whether he did or not. We'll have that discussion later on. But the idea was that my friend posted on social media, a gentleman at a collector car auction, purchased a car for $6 million. And my friend took a picture and put it on social media, and with the caption, this is once again paraphrased. I don't have the exact thing in front of me right now, but he basically said, how in the world can someone afford a $6 million car? That's what I want to talk about in the next episode. I want to answer his question publicly. We're not going to name him, my friend, publicly, but we'll answer that question publicly. Maybe you're having those kinds of questions yourself. How in the world are some of these people affording these luxury items? Let's put it that way. We're talking about cars, but it can be anything: houses, boats, anything. We'll talk about that in the next episode. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if that intrigues you at all, I encourage you to join us back here on the next episode. It'll be a lot of fun. So go out there, have a fantastic day. Enjoy your day. Really go out there, be courageous. Try to do something today that would push yourself outside your comfort zone just a little bit, and just see where that takes you. You'll realize really quickly that nothing's going to happen, meaning nothing negative is going to happen to you. And when you realize that, more and more, you're going to be able to step into who you're meant to be. And that's what we want for you moving forward. So go out there, as I said, have a fantastic day. We look forward to coming back with the next episode again very soon. Until then, bye now.